Stories, Fables, Ghostly Tales. Welcome, listeners, to Monday. I'm sure a lot of you are saying, "Don't remind me, mate." God. But that just means awesome stories on the way, right? Despite the work. And speaking of awesome, right now I'm eating a pizza. Get this, $34, 3 pizzas, 2 1.2 5-liter drinks, and 2 garlic breads. Delivered. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm having a good time. But foods and beverages aside, I have for you 3 listener stories by Patrick McNamara. In today's mix, our first story talks about miracle medicine. Our second story talks about monsters in the woods. And the lucky last covers the topic of aliens. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Grab yourself a hot beverage. I actually do have some Earl Grey. Yes, whilst eating pizza, turn those lights off and get ready for an original. Beware of this new miracle medicine. The side effects are very frightening. It started out like every new scientific medical discovery. It tested very well. It was supposed to be a cure for emotional trauma and/or imbalance. It actually worked amazingly. Patients who began taking the medication began almost instantly being alleviated of all their problems. It cured depression, schizophrenia, social anxiety, PTSD, along with every mental illness or issue that there is. It was incredible. People began better, more productive lives. Then it all started. The side effects started showing up. They were absolutely terrifying. It started with a former schizophrenic patient rotting to the point of death. Patient after patient began rotting to death, no matter what illness or issues they had before the medication. The rotting stopped. Then, the brain parasites began. Soon after that, other people died of their blood basically becoming hardened. The developers of this medicine had no idea what was going on and advised people to stop taking it. That advice was inconsequential. Something had happened. The people who remained on the medication started coughing up a highly acidic fluid. None of this makes any sense. The rotting started back up today, only now they are living after seemingly having rotted to death. I just began noticing parasites coming out of people who have now rotted. They start out burrowing out of their arms and legs. They spread and wrap themselves around each limb. Their behavior is very odd. They are devouring raw meat. Someone took one of the patients and a few hours later informed us that a quarantine is very necessary. It's strange. They went all over gathering each patient and separating us from them. The government isn't answering any questions. What is happening here? Why are these officials so scared? You can see it in their eyes. And we heard a major government scientist is going to appear on TV. What? No. This can't be happening. The patients are infected. Those parasites are the infection. They are going to grow and just evolve. Apparently, the patients finally died from those parasite things that outgrew their bodies. We are totally, just completely, royally fucked. The parasites changed. They are now these monstrous giant herds of what looks like T-Rexes covered with fur. Well, I have great news. The military was able to kill the beasts. I just don't believe that this has happened. The medicine was never an issue. It was just discovered that during the packaging of the medication, a man working at the facility that the medication was processed in methodically placed all these microscopic eggs inside and within the medication. He used to be a scientist before he snapped and vanished. Why did he engineer these beasts? What point did he try to prove? Just, please, be careful about what you think is a miracle cure. All because overconfidence and overlooking of who had access to the medication. So many people died. Very disturbing deaths. Countless people traumatized. Just be aware that most of the time things are never what they seem, or what you think they'll be. Story number 2. Going deep into the woods is never a good idea. Simon River was 6 when, for no apparent reason, he decided to wander far into the woods past his backyard. Simon has played many times in the woods. He only wanted to go deeper and come back with a story of his adventure to his friends at school. So he just kept going. Pretty soon he was very much lost. Then suddenly, he heard an unfamiliar voice talk to him. "Hi there! Why are you all the way out here for?" Simon could not see anyone, but he responded, "I only wanted to go a little bit into the woods. Then I got lost." The unfamiliar voice replied, "Okay, I live out in these woods. I'm all alone and I love it. We are going to play a little game. If you win, I let you leave here. And if you do win, you'll also learn a very valuable lesson. Sounds fun?" Simon answered, "What is the game? How do we play?" The voice began explaining. "It's very simple. You have to learn not to trust anyone or anything you meet. Your lesson is this: never ever go deep into the woods." It stepped down from above Simon, a monster. It was naked. It was very tall, very skinny with long arms and legs. Completely pale and extremely ugly. No nose. Bald. Simon ran as fast as he could. But it was too fast. Simon River was never found again. His parents and the police believed he was kidnapped by a pedophile in the woods. After all, so many kids vanished in these woods. The only man who knew the truth was Police Chief Ken Davenport. He knew what was really taking and eating the children. He saw it camping once. He doesn't want people to worry about it. One day, he will kill that ugly thing. Since he first saw it, he has been gathering all kinds of weapons. He will make sure that thing is dead. That thing waits for PC Davenport. He looks around for him. It knows that its days are numbered. On one glorious day, it looks up at the sky. Then suddenly, a spear goes clean through its head, passing through its brain and throat. Because Police Chief Ken finally did take care of that hideous beast. People in town go to see it without knowing this gruesome fact. Turns out, upon finding its lair, the bones of 80 children were found, scattered all around its cave. Although in the end Ken didn't know what it was, but he did know he had to stop it. Story number 3. I finally understand. We are not alone. You are probably like I was, all these nutjobs and these crackpots claiming to have seen extraterrestrial beings. I don't blame you. In fact, before this happened, I was exactly like you. All those stories were, for me, entertainment. Nothing more than an exciting way to get my horror vibe on. I'm not going to go into some long-ass preamble about myself. Quite frankly, that has absolutely nothing to do with my story. Just realize that I am a skeptic. I always was and always will be, but once I saw something, and now I'm sold. I saw this. I still can't believe it, recounting it after about 2 years. I'm a huge outdoorsman. I love camping. 2 years ago, I was camping alone in my favorite spot. Nothing has ever happened there. part of the reason this is so shocking to me. I guess that the odd event started a couple of hours after dusk. I kept on seeing what I thought, at the time, was a series of shooting stars. It was beautiful to look at. Then the series slowed down and circled my campsite. I then realized, obviously, this was not a comet or a shooting star. It looked like a plane from a distance. It seemed to be inching closer to my campsite. As it drew closer, I noticed its odd shape. It was a triangle. It glided like nothing else I had seen before or since. I then got to see this thing glide above me about 1,000 feet, just above my campsite. It really put in perspective how big this thing was. It just stayed there, in the air, as if observing me. I could not believe what I was seeing. This was no weather balloon, this was no advanced jet plane. It was a triangle craft. Its design was unlike anything I had ever seen before. I knew then whatever visited me at that moment was not of this world. I actually was entranced by the whole scenario. It was then that I began to notice that the craft was positioning itself to descend very cautiously. It was as if they didn't want to startle me. The craft was a good 80 feet from the campsite. I still saw it land, not rushing, just with patience and a purpose in mind. I walked about 40 feet away from the campsite in a show of respect. They actually came out and met me where I was. These beings were a good 9 feet tall. They had almond black eyes. They looked mildly humanoid. Their fingers were slender, arms very long. They were dressed in some kind of metallic outfit, unlike anything I'd ever heard of. They spoke to me through thoughts. They had very calm and reassuring voices. "You are not safe here, my fellow life form. We were hoping nobody would be here. They are coming. They are very hostile. We have tried to warn you, not to shout out loud into the cosmos. They heard you and want to deplete your planet of its resources. They want humanity to wither. For what reason we do not know. What we do know is that they gave coordinates to land in this area. We arrived to deal with them. We can do so without any problems. They are coming tonight. My fellow life form, hide and do not make any sounds or movements until we retrieve you. We apologize." I didn't need to be told twice. I did exactly as I was asked. I witnessed something truly amazing. These beings actually waited, and suddenly, a massive spherical ship landed only 20 feet away from the other ship. Out of that ship stepped two hideous, monstrous beings. These things looked like massive insectoid beings. Both resembled a gigantic hybrid between a cockroach and a spider, and just a very faint hint of human. The beings I just met confronted them. The insect monsters tried to act tough, but the beings just immediately, with ease, threw both the insect monsters very far, about a good 30 feet. The beings did not waste any time pressing the advantage. They, with amazing quickness, mounted both monsters and just held them in what almost resembled a chokehold. The monsters, within minutes, lost consciousness. The beings let go and waited for a good 12 minutes. They took the monsters, and just as soon as they rose to their feet, snapped both their necks, killing them. All of a sudden, a whole group of the spherical ships just took off. What the hell did I witness? Our entire existence was just guarded from a very serious threat. Nobody would ever know about it. The beings retrieved me as promised. The other being, who had not spoken yet, began talking to me in their psychic way. "We are here to make sure this planet is safe. We are all over just outside your orbit, constantly watching over you and your wonderful planet. Protecting you had and will remain our absolute honor and privilege. We assure you that we have love for your special planet and everything on it." What we do is our duty. Incidents like what just happened happen a lot more than anyone can realize. What we do is make sure life goes on unabated. We are glad you are safe. We must warn you of your own worst enemy, the one who claims to lead you and claim to know you best. They are not as wise as they perceive. Corruption is an evil. The ones supposed to protect you are hurting you. None of it is right. It makes no sense. What we hope is one day this will end. Please stand up for what you deserve. Your dignity. We will be observing and hoping for a peaceful resolution. Violence should not always be the answer. With that, a white flash engulfed me. The next thing I remember, I am alone at my campsite. What happened was very real. What I have witnessed and heard was something I was meant to hear and see. I waited 2 years because in that time, I researched my experience. Indeed, as expected, my experience isn't unique. It has happened in various parts of the world. I also found out that they have guarded us from outsiders for a very long time. Their message to me, before they left, stuck with me. Peaceful resolution is possible. Violence might be necessary and unavoidable. With all that is occurring in our world presently, we must maintain our dignity. I hope we can come together and in a peaceful way resolve any issues. Sadly, that will not happen. I know that. Authorities shooting people, politicians lying more than ever, using the very same people that they were assigned to protect. It's all becoming sickening. These beings have protected us from all kinds of threats. Perhaps the biggest one is ourselves. Perhaps we have to reevaluate everything. I guess only time will tell. Nothing like listener stories to get the Stories, Fables, Ghostly Tales train going. Do you have a favorite out of the 3? Mine would have to be the story about the creature in the woods. Was fun reading and fun narrating it. Remember, you can also send your stories and requests straight to me at StoriesFablesGhostlyTales@gmail.com. Dead easy. And lastly, do you know anyone of your friends or family that are struggling to get through the day? You do? All of them? Well, it's a Monday. Send me to them. You don't have to get them to use a podcast app. Although it's way easier, you can listen to me via SoundCloud's website, my own website, or even on YouTube. Type Stories Fables Podcast into Google. I'll be but a click away. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode where I cover off either a creepypasta or a surprise episode. And as always, till next time.